So, guys, this has been bothering me about the Death Riders faction, and I really think that Marina Shafir should go after the AEW's Women's World Championship. And there's like a lot of reasons for this. That, first of all, like, honestly, this is like the right time for her. And there's no other time because she's part of a leading faction. And wouldn't that make sense that they would want to go after all the titles? And then the other part of it is that there are many factions in AEW that don't have like a strong woman in it. So obviously she can start that trend. Like for example, what happened to the Don Callis family had, Queen Amanada or another wrestler that is international? What would happen if the Hurt Syndicate, like I've said many times, has Nyla Rose that would really fit their powerhouse dynamic? What would happen if Team FDR had like, a female wrestler like, a Beth Phoenix or a Willow Nightingale, or you even have like Athena, like somebody that could really add to that. There's so much that they can really do. You have Shane Taylor Promotions who has a female in it, but the thing about it is I can really inspire that trend of like that girl and the male faction that wants to run with the guys. That's another part of it, and then the other part of it is the most important thing, that you can't really have Mariah May and Tony Storm. Like, this thing has to end at Grand Slam, because then it's almost like, what do you do after that? Really, are we going to go back and forth with them? No, this thing is just like MJF and Adam Cole. It really needs to die and run its course between Mariah May and Tony Storm, this starlet, and also this just, like them changing each other's identities, like this whole entire, you know, whatever happened to Baby Jane's psychological warfare. This thing all just needs to end, really. So ultimately, that's killing the women's division because, there's nothing new. And then the other part of it is you have Mercedes Monet. Obviously, she's been champion for a very long time. I actually think one of the things they want to do is break the Jade Cargill record just to kind of stick it to Jade Cargill for going to WWE. But the point of it is that there's really no newness in the women's division. It's like, they wrestle all types of wrestlers, sometimes Japanese wrestlers, the champions, that you don't really know about. There are some wrestlers that actually have some form of charisma, like Willow Nightingale, Thunder Rosa, Mercedes Moné, Tony Storm, Mariah May. And I also think the other thing too is that there's no like young generation of women. There's no like young generation of women, like new stars, new women that'll become something, and that's also kind of been the issue. Like I've said with Queen Aminata, what would happen if you actually pushed her like a big deal? What would happen if you took like Layla Hirsch, or you took somebody like Billy Starks, and you're kind of like, okay, we need kind of that woman to lose a bunch of time and actually build into something. You have people like Taya Valkyrie who lose too much, and other things like that. So honestly, when you have like a champion that's actually a legitimate threat and focused on the whole division, and the Moxley philosophy of I'm the embodiment of the title, and I can actually I'm the embodiment of the title. What would happen if we extended that to Marina Shafir? Because technically he's a cult leader. That's really his gimmick. So what would happen if he kind of allowed Marina and other people to fulfill that, his philosophy as well, really? So wouldn't that make a lot of sense, really, for her to go after the women's title? And then the other thing that I would say is that, you have to think about AEW Double or Nothing, because I would say that what I would do is a 6-on-6. I'd do rated FTR, and I would include Powerhouse Hobbs in that group. And I would also include like Willow Nightingale or Athena. You have 6 people, and then you also have the Moxley faction and MJF, really, and that includes Marina and MJF, because I think that would be a good faction. You have a 6-on-6 match, and that's good because also too, if she's the AEW champion, she actually has more legitimacy. And then the other part of it that makes it look really, really good is that also too, like if she's gonna take spots like go through a table or be hit by Jay White and other things like that, you really have to make her look legitimate. You have to make her look like a big deal, really. What would happen if she's actually a good mic person, or she actually works on it, and then you're like, okay, this is somebody that can hold a championship, and you do something with that, Or like I've said before, another thing is that don't give her the AEW championship, give her the ROH championship, because what the fuck are you doing with Athena? Like Athena is just really a placeholder. But the other problem with Athena is, like I've said, I've known many people who are like, okay, whatever happened to Ember Moon? Most people don't even know that she's been a champion for more than 2 years in fucking AEW because AEW doesn't advertise or market her that well, really. So if you want to give her a feud or a conflict, you can do that with Marina Shafir. And then that's also the other thing that I'll say that's really lacking is that you don't really have maybe a new type of big feud or a big opponent or a final boss within the AEW women's division. Honestly, the final boss really is Mercedes Moné because you know who can really beat Moné when she has all those contract deals and she's kind of like the privileged girl. So she's kind of like the final boss of the women's division, but she's not that good of a final boss. And if she's feuding with Harley Cameron, like a wrestler that does take that's very 50-50. She does take some things seriously. She has a ventriloquist dummy. So that's really, the story of who can take down Mercedes Moné, really. Harley Cameron is somebody that you can get behind, but she's also not like a serious underdog, I want to take the throne just because I'm a better leader of the village type of person, really. Like you don't get that with her. You get with somebody like she's kind of like Naruto in the sense that you can get behind her, but she's also the not the very serious jokester type of person, really. So you kind of ask yourself if you have Marina Shafir. Like I've said, what I would do is that I would have her face against. I think the best thing to do is have her have the women's ROH title. You can have her beat. Ember Moon and then Athena, and then you show footage of her beating the shit out of Marina Shafir. No, you have Marina Shafir beat Ember Moon, and then when she's about to beat and towards the end of the match, you show the footage of her beating Billy Starks to death, like putting her in the hospital, and like honestly, like you see, breathing apparatus and all that. Really, Ember Moon gets caught off guard, or she loses her concentration, really, and then you have Marina Shafir take advantage of that and then actually beat Ember Moon, and then what happens is that what you do after that is I think Ember Moon what you do after that is then you set up you set up Marina as the ROH Women's Champion, and then you take Athena and you put her on the main roster, really, because she can't be champion for 2 years, and there's no conflict. And then when Billy Starks come back, then you have Billy Starks versus Marina Shafir, or you have a friend of Billy Starks, or other women who are baby faces saying hey, you took it too far. We're all a company. We look out for each other. We don't do this to get what we want, really. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and honestly, you can even repeat some of that in the AEW, women's championship picture. You can have Harley Cameron actually beat Mercedes Moné, and then you have Marina Shafir take her on, or you have Mariah May beat Toni Storm. Then you have Harley Cameron versus Mariah May. She wins at Revolution. Harley Cameron, and then you have Harley Cameron get beaten down by Marina Shafir, and then on Dynamite you have Harley Cameron almost lose her life to Marina Shafir, and then you actually have a match at Dynasty between Toni Storm and Marina Shafir, or Willow and Marina Shafir, or somebody else in Marina Shafir. And then you kind of add her to the AEW Double or Nothing Anarchy in the Arena match, and then you do a great job with that. So there's a lot that they can actually really do with this faction by giving with the Death Riders, by giving Marina Shafir either the ROH Championship or the AEW Women's Championship. So it's definitely one of those things too that and when that makes sense, because they're the trios champions, and they're also the world heavyweight champion. Wouldn't it make sense for her to want to get a women's title? Would that make a lot of sense? Would it make sense for Wheeler Yuta to actually win the TV title from Daniel Garcia and prove that he's legit and get heel heat that way? So there's a lot of just things that they can really do to elevate Marina Shafir and make her a big deal. And I really think having her hold the AEW Women's Championship would be great. And the last point that I would make about it is that, obviously she's a different wrestler. She comes off like a wannabe China, more serious, more cut down, really. So you don't really have the Japanese schoolgirl in Riho. You really don't have Thunder Rosa's gotten that. You really don't have people like you really just don't have people like Mariah May and Tony Storm who are like the starlets. So you have somebody different, a different look, a different feel, really. So that would give you some vitality, really. So I really think for all points involved, Marina Shafir needs to be the AEW Women's Champion. It would do a lot more good, really, and it would really elevate her and make her look like a serious threat, and maybe inspire women to step up and fight against the Death Riders. And I think that's good because you need like multiple motivations within the divisions. People who want to fight against Mercedes Moné, people who want to fight against Mariah May and Tony Storm when they had that match at Grand Slam, and then one winner's going to be left, really, and then other types of feuds that actually mean something. So a new champion, a new heel champion, and with the top title, really, and who's going to take her out, really, So there's a lot of things that they can really, really do by giving Marina Shafir the AEW Women's Championship, and that is best for business, bitches.